Hello friends, Swami Riemann here, and this week's inspiration from the wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda in his autobiography of a yogi focuses on the question of spiritual but not religious. I'd like to read this short sentence or two from Yogananda's popular book of metaphysical meditations. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. We hear these days that the category of people who define themselves as spiritual but not religious is growing. People, we are told by surveys, are leaving mainline Christian churches. I suppose all churches, but here in America, we speak of Christian churches. I don't doubt any of that. I, too, join the ranks of those who turned our backs earlier in life on religious organizations and participation. The crowning moment that changed my life, however, came after a year-long travel in search of secret India. I came back spiritually empty-handed, because I realized that on my own, whether in a Himalayan cave or in an apartment of my own in a city, I was not making the spiritual progress I wanted to make. And so it was I vowed at that point in my life, in my mid-20s, that I would be open to the influence of other people. I simply couldn't do it on my own. And thus, within days and within weeks, I read the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda, and soon thereafter found Ananda and met Swami Kriyananda. And there it was in the earlier days of Ananda Village in Northern California that a small band of pioneers was forming and building a small spiritual intentional community inspired by the example and the words and intentions of Paramahansa Yogananda, whom we have dubbed the patron saint of community. It's not easy to progress on one's own. Human beings tend to be social by nature. Yogananda went so far as to make the statement that even though he brought the advanced techniques of meditation, Kriya Yoga, that he called part of Raja Yoga, he balanced that with a very necessary example and need and encouragement to do so with other people. Satsang, as it's said in India, fellowship, as it's said here in the West. He said that as it related to religious organizations, aka churches, the organization creates a hive wherein the honeybee devotees can create and receive the sweet honey of God's presence through inner communion, through meditation, through service to others. It is an axiom in India, in the teachings of India, that in order to achieve God realization, freedom, moksha, by whatever name one chooses, salvation, as a Christian would say, one has to share the path and help others to do the same. That makes perfect sense, because ultimately the ego has no reality. We are one in our souls, and so we cannot turn our back on our fellows. We are helped by helping others. And so we can appreciate the failings and disadvantages of institutions and organizations, which happen to be the genius of the West in some respects, but also its Achilles heel. Nonetheless, the chaos of individuality, which we see epitomized in some respects in India, countries like India especially, we need to balance East and West, Yogananda said. And the organizational genius of the West with the inspirational genius of the East. This is the middle path that the world now needs. But apart from the world, you and I, will benefit far more greatly by our association, voluntary association with others of like mind. Besides, it's good to have that example and to offer that example, which if you lived only in a solitary spiritual inner life would not impact as many people. But again, the real reason to come together is because you will benefit, and by association others can benefit too. It's truly the living of the only two great commandments there are: love the Lord thy God and love thy neighbor as thyself.